Brock Lesnar returns on last night's Raw. Plus, there were other shock returns and a title change on the Raw season premiere. And an absent star from Raw is coming back next week. It's all in the wrestling news right now.
Whew, so much Raw news. Oh, it kicked off on Raw. Oh my goodness.
Busy Raw.
Yes, absolutely.
Didn't kick all the way off.
Season premiere, Tom.
Let's start with the boy. Let's hit F5 and refresh.
What is that noise?
That is the sound of all. When he was in a war with robots, it's the sound of a robot just filling their keks.
Okay, yeah.
That's the noise it makes.
Enough.
Ask Arnold Schwarzenegger from The Terminator.
So Brock Lesnar's back in WWE. He interrupted Bobby Lashley, who was talking about how he's beaten so many greats, and one of the names he mentioned was Brock Lesnar. But Lesnar didn't come out immediately when he said that, which you might have expected. He waited a little bit longer. Lashley went, "Come on then, Seth Rollins, get out here so I can kick your ass." No. And then Brock Lesnar came out and kicked his ass.
Oh, he did indeed.
It's complex. No, I'm joking. It was good. It was a good moment. But obviously, I saw a bit of a mixed response online.
Oh, really?
Some people are going, Lesnar's back, and other people are going, Lesnar does a surprise return every few months now. So
it's kind of, it doesn't become a surprise when it's every few months, does it? Yeah, I mean, there was some conversations and some rumblings about Lesnar being back in time for Crown Jewel, but a lot of people had put him in there with, certainly hadn't put him in there with Bobby Lashley.
No, that's very true. I think that's a rematch that a lot of people can get behind as well. It's not Lesnar versus Roman again, which I don't think people were annoyed at seeing Lesnar come back. We all love Lesnar, but it was that he was coming back to once again face Roman, whereas now it's a little bit different.
It was either going to be that or Cormier was the rumour. A lot of people were saying that a Lesnar-Daniel Cormier thing could have been on the cards, but I'm all right with Lesnar and Lashley. I enjoyed their brief tete-a-tete when they did, and I feel like there's lots of story to still tell. The fact that Lashley lost the title to Lesnar back at Elimination Chamber,
yes,
but didn't lose the match because he got taken out of the match. There's some long-term story that you can tell.
There absolutely is, but this storyline's spiraling off in different directions as well, because after Lesnar beat up Bobby Lashley, a weakened Lashley then fell victim to Seth Rollins in their US title match. So we have a new champion announced on Raw as well. Seth Rollins is the new and two-time United States champion.
Now every member of the Shield holds belts.
Oh, very nice indeed.
And across the wrestling divide as well.
And I'm quite hopeful because I remember when Rollins had his first US title reign, it was excellent. It was when he was a double champion, when he had the main belt and the US belt, and then he was wrestling like Sting and Cena in the same night. It was all very interesting. I'm not sure if they'll do that this time, but I do think that Rollins, in fact, I was about to say he definitely deserves this. He's been doing really well, and this is a good title to put on him. But actually, I think I saw him in my mind as even higher than the US title in the sort of...
Well, it might be one of those cases where you give a belt like that to a former WWE champion to raise it. Now, Bobby Lashley is somebody that could feasibly do that, but I haven't been overly blown away by Lashley's US title run, I must say. And I don't know whether that's a lack of TV time from Bobby's part or a lack of focus. Certainly having Seth hold the title puts it into focus.
I think when Bobby's there, he always delivers.
Oh, always,
but
always.
I think maybe since Triple H has started bringing people back and other exciting things have been happening, maybe Lashley has been forced to take a bit more of a backseat. I don't think we're suggesting that it's Lashley's fault.
No. You do what you're told to do, and Lashley always does what he does well. I just feel like that title reign kind of was a bit lackluster compared to some of the stuff we have seen from him. Like his WWE title reign was really strong. His first one especially. But yeah, new US champion on Raw last night. The hits kept on coming last night because earlier in the night we saw AJ Styles seemingly joining the Judgment Day, talking about needing his family.
Well, this has been going on for a few weeks now with Finn Balor trying to tempt Styles into the group. And without saying it overtly, there was the whole, like, we were both Bullet Club lads, we're old friends from back in the day. And Balor kept saying things like, the offer still stands. And he did we were blown away by this on the podcast a few weeks ago. He goes like, the offer still stands. And he did like a thing with it. I've given him a Northern Irish accent there, but he's not. He's Republican. I can't really do with like a Dublin accent. But Balor was trying to tempt him in. Then things turned a little bit and he started just beating him up and saying like, I'm your friend, blah, blah, blah.
As all good friends do.
Yeah, exactly. But it seemed quite cool and psychotic. I was like, wow, he's really doing good heel work here. Now there's been another twist on last night's Raw. In the middle of an embrace.
Where he said, when talking about the offer and talking about family,
He seemed to accept it, Styles.
He wasn't talking about Finn Balor.
And he said it to him while they were hugging. And then Balor looked at him in the hug like, what? And then, of course, we got the big reveal, Tom.
Gallows and Anderson are back in WWE. The OC back together. And they hand a shoe into the Judgment Day in this segment.
It looks like it's going to be a sort of stable-based warfare, although I certainly wouldn't be opposed to seeing another AJ versus Balor singles match as well.
Maybe we will, but you've got these two great factions. If only there was some games that they could play.
No, wait,
when they go to war.
I mean, that would be cool, but I really want to see the Bloodline in War Games.
You too.
2 war games.
Who says we can only have 1 war game?
Well, maybe we need a women's one as well.
Do
3.
Do
5 war games.
Do 3 war games.
Do a whole card of war games.
1 at the start, 1 at the end, 1 in the middle, 2 little buffer matches. There's your pay-per-view. There's Survivor Series. Best Survivor Series ever.
Well, it would be really good.
There you go. Get on with it. Do it, you cowards. Now, Fightful say that Gallows and Anderson actually had feelers from WWE when they were wrapping up their time within Impact Wrestling, and they were very overt with Scott D'Amore about this, saying, "No, we've had a few offers from where." And it looked as if, though, this was all on the QT, it looked as if Gallows and Anderson were going to head back to New Japan. I mean, Anderson is still the never open weight champion, and he's joined WWE. He has a title defense on November the 5th.
Yes, against Hikuleo, formerly of the Bullet Club. Now Hikuleo recently left the Bullet Club and is aligned with Tama Tonga, who's a babyface now. So I guess there's a storyline built in there with Anderson being a Bullet Club affiliated guy and everything. But yes, Anderson's now a WWE superstar, so I don't quite get how this is going to work. As well, the title defense takes place on November 5th, which is the same day as Crown Jewel.
So I guess they won't be at Crown Jewel.
Well, I assume not.
Because I know they'd be keen. I mean, like they have said that they have plans to work out their New Japan dates. Fightful Select saying that there was the idea they want to finish up around Wrestle Kingdom time with New Japan.
That makes sense.
And in any other administration within WWE, I'd say, well, we can just assume that those aren't happening now. But I would imagine that there's probably been a deal that's been struck and said, look, finish up your obligations there. And then once you have, you're ours and ours exclusively.
Triple H is like an old school wrestling guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I think
do the job in the territory.
Right. He'd be more likely to let them do that rather than Vince, who historically hated the territories and all they stood for, and would probably just say, cut that deal short, get them in here now.
With the only example recently we've had is because they hired Karrion Kross and he had an indie booking coming up that weekend that was downgraded from a match to a meet and greet.
Okay.
I can't see them playing that same game with New Japan Pro
No, I don't think so.
I can't see that being a thing. So those are some of the surprises from Raw last night. A packed episode of Raw. Had the DX reunion. It had a bunch of other good stuff as well. And we've got a tease for next week. Who's coming back next week, Jack?
Oh, it's going to be Elias. I believe in the guise of himself, Elias.
Yeah.
Not Ezekiel, not Elrod or any of the other family members, but Elias himself. The last time we saw him was in that photo when Ezekiel had been beaten up and the whole family was at his hospital bed seeing if he was okay. But it seems as though, yes, we will see him on next week's Raw. I don't know whether that means it's the end of this storyline with the multiple personas, or do you think it's just going to be the continuation of that?
I can imagine that Triple H might just go, just be Elias. We just like Elias now.
We do like Elias.
Because I think the Ezekiel thing was a Vince and Bruce led bit of creative, which explains like the other name that begins with E was Elrod. It sounds like something that maybe Vince would have come up with.
It does. And
we never saw Elrod's debut, did we?
No.
Top 10 stars that never debuted for WWE. Kate Vanson, Elrod.
I know that, we look at like Bray Wyatt, who recently returned, of course, and Braun Strowman as people who Vince got rid of or stopped using. It was like, they were so unique. How could you possibly not see the value in doing something with them? And I think maybe on a slightly smaller scale, but I think Ezekiel or Elias was another example of that, because he had a great act going. The heel who came out, sang a song, insulted the hometown crowd. It was quite old school, but it's certainly, I mean, there'd be videos that would go on Reddit and stuff of him at a live event just getting so much heat. Then they turned him face, which was a weird decision, and then he went away, and then he came back as Ezekiel, who, if you take away the fact that the whole wink nudge, I'm secretly Elias thing. What was Ezekiel's character? Nice man?
He was just a nice man, wasn't
Well,
he?
we don't want that in wrestling.
Yeah, what was Zeke? It was nothing. There was nothing to him, was there? But
Well, he was a nice man.
He got a lot of telly every week, and he was just being a nice man.
Yeah.
That was. Well, hey, look, we'll see how this pans out next week on Monday Night Raw. And for the latest wrestling news throughout the day, check out cultaholic.com. Stay safe and love you. Bye.